And that brings me around to another subject, and that is these years that since 1968 that you've been a vital part of St. Andrew's Church.
No,
the first thing I want to ask you about, why did they name this St. Andrew's? Someone told me that they thought it might have been in honor of what the gesture that Harry Baldwin made at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church when Laurel Street burned down.
There is, I don't know, I can't answer your question now. I don't think exactly, I don't know all the particulars.
Maybe I'd be starting a new rumor. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, it seems that there's a possibility that may have had something to do with it. But I did hear that one of the apostles was St. Andrew, you know.
That's correct.
And what was the lady's name that worked for the state that you taught that latest Bible class ran you for Argyle Glenn? And I think Argyle mentioned that name, St. Andrew. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure about that. But I was disappointed that it didn't name it Law of Grace. I wanted each church to retain its identity.
Yeah.
And I thought Law of Grace would have been very appropriate. And I'd change it tomorrow if I could.
Once the decision was made to come out here and join with Grace Church, tell us about the way this church developed.
Well, I think you need somebody now. There is a gentleman sitting over there with us today that was really on the building plans. The only thing I had to say was when you build it, make it one step high.
That's right.
I did say that. And so my good friend over here, Tom Edwards, you answer that question for me.
Well, you know, Gilbert, that was almost 40 years ago, and that was in a day before anybody was really emphasizing handicapped accessible structures, and that was a visionary thing to do that, because as a result of that, this church has been very accessible for people with disabilities. And if it had been built in other ways, it wouldn't have been, and probably a lot of money would have had to be spent to make it that way.
Well, I had the privilege of being pallbearer for a lot of people at Laurel Street Methodist Church, and it was really a chore. Not a chore. That's the wrong word. It was always a privilege to be a pallbearer. But you really wanted to make sure that you'd done the very best that you knew how in handling the deceased. And going up those steps, most of the time people, they weren't accustomed to doing something like that. And then the thing that really convinced me was one of the most loyal and dedicated members that we had at that church was Chief Parrish. He was he was the battalion chief, or no, he was assistant fire chief to Chief Taylor, because there's one of the assistant chiefs sitting right over there. And that poor soul would come in a wheelchair, and we would take him up the steps. And I said, if I ever have anything to do with building a church, the only step it's going to have is a carrying off the street. And his good son said the same thing, Harvey Parrish. And so we made sure, I said, well, I'm not going to get in it in any way, but we're only going to have one step. Because at least when you get old, and I know about being old, and I know about steps. And now I think it was a real plus.
Absolutely. I want to show you, as we're wrapping up, I want to show you three photographs actually. This one is of the interior of Laurel Street Church. I'm not sure what date would be on it, but it was before the organ was redone and I guess the new carpet put in.
Yeah. This picture here was taken, Brother Parrish and Brother A.T. Reese, who was a musician to some degree. He took a great interest in our choir. And we didn't have that nice thing in the front of the organ that you see here. And he designed something to go there in the front of it. And he and I and Holly Parrish, we put that thing together and went around there one day and put all that pretty framework up that Mr. Reese had made to go in the front of that organ. And the gentleman who was the chairman of the board that I presented to you a little while ago there, but this is tremendous. Oh my goodness, man.
That is after that you put the stuff up in the
right.
Yeah, I was wrong about that. That was after the new carpet was put in.
Yeah.
So this had to be after 51.
Yeah. That was after 1951.
I'm not sure about the date on this either, but I know that you'll be able to identify what it is.
This looks like it looks like the service that we had. It reminds me very much of the service that we had on the 100th anniversary or the Sunday afterwards. I remember.
Had a lot of people there.
And right, this was that Sunday.
Hold that up so Lewis can get a shot of it. I already got that picture, I think.
Right. Yeah. This was on the Sunday we had the 100th anniversary that I had the photographer come up and take everything that happened that day. It should be some pictures of the church by itself. We went over and took it out on somebody's roof across the street. And that's it. That's my pride and joy.
I was going to end up with this one because I know that this is probably the way you will always want to think about Laurel Street.
Boy, this was my pride and joy right here, as far as the building was concerned. We'd gone over and got the permission to get on somebody's house. And I had the Lisbon Studios from down there, 3 doors from Lowe's Theater down on Grace. Number Lisbon Theater down there. Photographer. So he came up. He was my Jewish friend. I had all kinds of friends.
You still do.
and he came up and took your pictures, and I sold these pictures in order to pay him. But he didn't charge me full price either. Yeah, this is tremendous. I declare. Yeah, that's it. And Twin Towers that was the last thing that was put on that church was the two towers. It wasn't built all at one time. It was a sanctuary was built, and then the back end had come off of the back, and then they put the two twin towers on. They were built in 1890 when the church was built. And then it was 1910 before the towers got built on it.
So it was, the building was essentially completed in 1910.
And in 1910, the building was completed in 1910. And, I just wouldn't take anything in the world for, a picture tells 1,000 words. But in my opinion, it tells 1,000,000. You wouldn't see this. It's burned down.
Yeah.
And if I never done anything in my life that was really important to the church, it was bringing that photographer up there to get these pictures.
Well,
that will live as long as the pictures stand.
I think it's fair to say that you've done a lot of important things in your life, and especially where both Laurel Street Church and St. Andrew's Church are concerned. Gilbert, I've got a whole set of these pictures for you, and I want to present them to you when I put them in a notebook so that they'll be a little bit easier for you to handle. But I can't tell you how much...
Yeah, I had a set, and I loaned them to somebody. I had a complete set. I made 2 sets and presented one set to the board.
Yeah.
The board was the one giving me the authority to do what I'd done and be in Olive Parish. And all of that church, it wasn't no Gilbert in Olive Parish. It was a team thing.
Yeah.
Everybody you saw sitting in that picture.
Yeah.
That's the ones that got this job done. All of them people. They all put their time and money in it. We were just people trying to help them along, but they were the ones that really got it done. And I'm just so grateful, that, and then you're trying to make a little money, and I had this made here, went down, had the man cut it out on, make a pattern of it, so I could sell them, so I could pay for some of these things. And I bought them for 50 cents a piece by buying them. I bought 100 at a time. He sold them to me for 50 cents a piece. And I back then people didn't gouge and rob people. And I still don't. And I sold them for $1 a piece.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't sell this one. This one don't have a price tag.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for taking this time to share all of these memories with us and all these very important parts of the history of that church and of this church. We're here in February of 2006. We're so grateful that you're here, and we just you are a treasure to us.
Thank you. Well, I'm grateful to God that He's been absolutely superb to me over at my place of employment and over at Continental Bacon Company. I love that just like I love my church.
Still smell the bread.
If it hadn't been for Continental Bacon Company, I couldn't have done anything to that church. In 1949, I didn't treat Continental Bacon Company right because I spent too much time there. And I worked there night and day trying to get that place shaped up with my friends, and I even had Continental people there. And I almost lost my job. I got a call one morning from my friend across the street from his church, Charlie Jenkins, and he said, "Gilbert, I got a water fountain down here. If y'all want to buy it," he said, "I've talked to my boss and you can get it." And we needed a water fountain, some kind of bad. We were putting a block of ice in there every Sunday, which was terrible. After you got your first drink, it was hot water. Yeah. And I was so excited, I jumped in my automobile. I went to the Continental Bacon Company. I went down to the garage. I had the garage superintendent loan me a truck. He said, "Gilbert, you know you're welcome to the truck, but you better talk to the head honcho upstairs." That was our boss, the general manager. Well, I got the truck. I went down and took one of my employees right to the bakery. I went down to the telephone company and I got the water fountain. And it just had the motor in it, done over in the picture ice. And I think it looks like almost new. I said, how much I got to pay for that thing? He said, $20 for rewinding the motor. So that's all they want. They don't want the motor you can have, they just don't pay for rewinding. So I give them $20. I'm that excited. See, I put my job at stake.
Well,
And
you know what? You gave Continental Baking Company a whole lot more than you know. You gave them 110% all the time.
you got that right. And they ought to got 110% because they give me 120%.